Hello, friends, and welcome to the show. Welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're joining me live or catching me on replay, happy Thursday to you. Let's get started.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Award-winning financial pro. Get ready. Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, hello, friends, and happy Thursday to you. Thank you so much for joining me. For those of you who are brand new to the show, I'm Winnie, your host and award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member and contributor. And we are absolutely streaming here live on many different social media platforms. For those of you who are brand new, welcome. For those of you who are joining me again, thank you so much for coming back. It is wonderful to be here with you. Let's jump in because the market's about to close. We're talking like less than 7 minutes before the market close today. Currently, well, my friends, it's a down day across the board. Dow is currently down 440 some points. NASDAQ down 483 points as well. And the S&P 500 also down 100 and change, like 104, 103 right now. It's not pretty. For those of you who are feeling the pinch, well, you're certainly not alone. If you're looking at your 401k statements or your investments, I would just say today might be one of those days you just want to not log in. Take the day off. If you are nicely diversified, yeah, go do something else, right? Take a break, go early dinner. I don't know, do something fun for yourself because there's so much news right now, and much of it, to be honest with you, isn't very positive. So if you're looking to get a feel of what's going on, just stick with me here. I'm going to give you an update. I'm going to tell you some of the things that you can do today that you can write down that can help you right now. But first off, I wanted to kick off with an article that came out of CNBC this week from my friend Jeff Cox, talking about, well, when you know it, layoffs here in the United States. Now, as you know, there's been a lot of government cuts. There's also been a lot of retail struggles as well. So layoffs in general here in the United States has reached a 5-year high. That's in February. So it doesn't seem like it's gotten that much better since February. It's only been a week, right? U.S. employers have announced now 172,000 plus job cuts, and that's a 245% increase from January alone, and it's the highest it's been since July of 2020. And if July 2020 sounds familiar, you'll remember that 2020 was sort of like the beginning where the pandemic really started here in the United States. Now, you could argue or say that it started at different places at different times, but that's when we really felt the pinch. So this is a big deal. Over 62,000 layoffs came from the federal government because of Doge making cuts in the federal government, but also a lot of companies like Macy's, Forever 21, they're contributing as well. Forever 21 contributed to nearly 39,000 job cuts with Macy's. And that's actually a six-fold increase from just last year. And technology, same kind of story, a lot of layoffs in technology. And so, of course, there are going to be some areas where people still are hiring, but overall, we're seeing a lot of hits on a lot of different industries, a lot of companies of all different sizes, small businesses, large businesses as well, but especially in Washington, D.C., where federal job losses, as you know, are very much concentrated. Now, with this in mind, if you follow me on, I'll call it Twitter, which is now X, then you know I've been sharing about this today quite a bit, about talking about, like, let's say you just found out you got laid off, right? And you've been dependent on your job. You weren't expected to. Like, what is somebody supposed to do when they go to the grocery store or whatnot, and they need to buy groceries and they realize a combination of inflation and tariff and everything now is getting so much more expensive? Like, how are they supposed to make ends meet? So definitely join in the conversation there. Let me know how you think. But I do want to talk about that because we've got a lot of stories coming out today. Now, another thing talking about that's being shared all over financial news, of course, is discussion of tariffs. Now, if you haven't been following this, that's okay because it does seem to change by the day, by the hour. But right now, there have been some positive news in the realm of tariffs. Tariffs they said there's going to be a slight pause until April 2nd. This was reported and announced by the new Trump administration, announcing a temporary halt on tariffs for certain Mexican goods. Now, these will be covered under the USMCA agreement after the administration spoke with Mexico's President Claudia Steinbaum. Now, to give you an idea, there's also other potential exemptions that may occur for countries such as Canada. But with that, we don't have all the news yet, and that's probably something to pay attention to. But what does that really mean to you, right? Is it just sort of political trade wars? Is it just tariffs, arguing, trying to make things more fair? But in the meantime, how does it impact you? And I think that's what we really want to talk about. There have been a lot of companies that are concerned about the trade wars impact. Not only that, in terms of their employees and also their customers and their consumers. Now, the trade deficit surged to $131 billion in January. Of course, the Trump administration has blamed former President Joe Biden for that economic imbalance. But nonetheless, what does it mean for you? What it does mean is that you should be expecting things to go up sooner rather than later. Sadly, it's a terrible expectation, and I get that. But that being said, I've talked to many people who gone to the grocery store this week or went to Costco this week, and they've already noticed that prices have started to move up. Now, a lot of imported products from countries such as Mexico and Canada include, as you guessed it, avocados, tomato products, cars, dairy, even certain consumer goods. So these are expected to get more expensive if tariffs are reinstated after April 2nd. Now, that being said, although some of these things are in pause, I will say this. I don't think that some places that prices can change as quickly as the White House announces it. So sometimes you're going to see sticker prices already have been moved up in preparation for tariffs, but yet maybe things are on pause until April 2nd. So if you go and purchase things, let me know what your experience has been. I actually got a notification this morning from a client saying that we eating avocados, felt like they went double in price. So yeah, craziness. But companies are looking now of what they're going to do. They're either going to pass the extra cost onto their consumers, which will lead to, of course, higher grocery and retail prices, or they're going to absorb those costs. And as you can probably guess, they're probably not going to absorb those costs. Now, if you have investments in retirement accounts, such as a 401k or 403b, maybe a Roth IRA, I mean, I think it's fair to say you're going to be expecting a lot more ups and downs in the stock market, just like we're seeing today. Investors are reacting to the trade policy shifts, and there continues to be more uncertainty and, of course, job market uncertainty. And if you're worried about losing your job, well, let's just face it, you're probably not spending that much money. You're probably being really careful about where you're spending and looking at ways to cut. So, is that positive for the economy? Well, if tariffs remain, manufacturing, retail, agriculture jobs will definitely probably be affected here. And some US companies rely heavily on Canadian and Mexican imports, and this will cause things to probably cost a lot more, and they actually might lead to layoffs here in the United States or slower wage growth in certain sectors as well. Now, where can you find safe havens, right? Where is it going to be more affordable for you in the meantime? Well, hypothetically, it should be in US made goods. That being said, and I preface with that being said, if a lot of things that you use to produce your goods here in the United States come off from offshore, which we know now with the global economy, the chances of that are pretty good. Maybe you're a farmer and maybe some of the tools that you use in your production come from offshore. Maybe the seeds that you use are from offshore. This can all have a trickle down effect to you and I. So, if Canada and Mexico now retaliate with their own tariffs, you've probably seen some of the videos. I saw videos yesterday on social media of Canadian retailers actually taking off the shelves American made products like American alcohol and whatnot. Well, this could definitely hurt American farmers, automakers, other industries, manufacturers, leading to, again, lower profits, which then can translate to more job cuts, hypothetically, right? Additionally, gas and energy prices could also be impacted because, as we know, a lot of energy also comes from Canada, and Mexico is a major oil trade partner of ours as well. So if this tension continues, well, this is going to feel imports could be affected, and this could potentially lead to higher prices, and this cycle, you know it just, it's not a good thing. We've already gone through how many years of the pandemic. I feel like we need better days ahead. So hopefully things will get better sooner rather than later. You saw the video, right? The retailer, I think that was in Canada, where they're actually literally taking American alcohol off the shelves. But what can we do? And this is what I wanted to talk to you about, because this is something that I know a lot of us feel that there's nothing we can do. There is. You can actually monitor your own financial, mental mindset, right? But there are a few things that you can do, them things I'm doing too, and encouraging my clients to do, is to budget for potential price increases, whether it be on food, imported goods, possibly even gas. So if you're investing, most importantly is to stay calm. And if you really feel like you're just feeling so overwhelmed and stressed out, find a professional, an experienced professional who has been in the industry for a very, very long time, who has been through a good market, a bad market, been through when there were tariffs in the past, that can help lead you through that tunnel, right? To get to from where we are today to the future. Now, if you're job hunting, you'll want to consider industries that are less impacted by tariffs. This could be something like technology, which we know isn't perfect, but healthcare as well. And then for those of you, maybe you still have your job, maybe you have a family to support as well, but you still need groceries. What can you do? Well, of course, if you can, ideally is to buy local when possible, right? We do know that Canadian and Mexican counter tariffs will probably make US goods more expensive abroad, but hopefully not so much at home. So if you have a local farm, like we have a local farm in our neighborhood, right? The local farm, you could go there to try and get your produce. I even heard one of my clients say that they've decided to take back, they're going to start growing vegetables again in their backyard. They're going to do that. I'm not suggesting that all of us can do that, but maybe, think of different ways that you can do this. I will say that I've also spoken to a lot of people this week who are going to stock up. They're going to Costco and Sam's Club and places like that, and just buying some non perishable items that they're going to need for their household this year, just to make sure that they can control the costs in that area. Now, I'm not suggesting that everybody can do that. And I recognize that is a benefit, that if you're financially able to do that, that's a great thing. But you can do what you can do, right? You can control what you can control. And the most important thing is to stay calm and follow news, pay attention, and whatever you do, try to live with beneath, beneath your means right now. This is a great time to think of everything as a need versus want, and really stick to the needs. Very much so. All right, let's continue, because I want to talk about, of course, job growth slowing here too. Now, the private sector here in the United States added about 77,000 jobs in February, which is far below the 148,000 that was forecasted, down from actually January's 186,000. So, as you can tell, this is a trend as well. There's less people hiring right now, and we're also seeing an uptick in layoffs. So this is not a great thing if you are looking for work. Now, if you are in a position where you are looking for work, maybe you were recently let go, or you anticipate being let go, or have been offered a buyout, like what do you think you can do in terms of income? Now, there are certain areas that have been affected more, right? Trade, transportation, utilities lost like 30,000 jobs already. Government obviously lost a lot of jobs. But there are certain areas such as leisure, hospitality, those actually been adding positions. 41,000 were added there. Professional and business services, also 25,000 plus. Construction has also seen solid gains, especially given a lot of natural disasters, like here in Los Angeles with the wildfires, and other parts of the country with other things like that. A lot of people have had to rebuild. And there's been continuous like construction needs, right? I just spoke with a client recently that needed to do construction on their home of some damage that occurred there too. So we know that that continues to be an area that seems to be bringing in more um, labor. Now, of course, we know a lot of small businesses are struggling, shedding over 12,000 jobs there, but it seems like it's going to be rough before it'll get better. So, whatever you're doing is, if you're paying attention to this, make sure that you're in a situation that you're going to be okay if there's a short uh, period where you're going to not have the income that you're used to. So if you have your job currently, and hopefully most of you watching do, highly recommend that you start making sure that your emergency fund is fully funded. I recommend at least 6 months of living expenses in an account that's liquid, that is in your name, that you have easy access to. All right. Now, speaking of, let's continue. Let's talk about tariffs. And in the New York Times, Julie Cresswell talking about tariffs, and these are like the 25% ones that are going hypothetically going to be on Canada and Mexico very soon. China also was announced that will be an increase in tariffs for goods coming from China as well. And there's even been talk about that could continue and impact more countries as well, as the US is looking to decrease their deficit. Now, one very large company here in the United States called Cisco Foods, major food distributor, is adjusting its supply chain even. But perishable items such as limes, tomatoes, and onions have fewer sourcing options. So they're saying, these kind of things might actually start getting more expensive. So just be on the lookout, and maybe just, I think at this point, you just got to stay flexible, right? It's kind of like the avian flu, and with egg prices being so high, we just have to stay flexible. Maybe we eat a little less of what we really want to, and just find ways to get through this time. And speaking of which, I want to talk about one thing that has been in the news. I don't know if you've seen this, but make sure it's on your radar. This is being shared about the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. CFPB has made some news on its own. There's of course a lot of talk. Those is looking to reduce how many employees work there, but the CFPB has officially, I guess, dropped its case against early warning services, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, over fraud complaints on Zelle. So the lawsuit, which was actually just filed last December, accused these companies of failing to properly investigate fraud claims or reimburse victims. Well, this means that the CFPB cannot bring these claims again, eliminating any chance of consumer compensation. Now, CFPB leadership changes have definitely been impacted, right? They've had new leadership. And so, because of that, Zelle, since launching in 2017, they've processed over $1 trillion in transactions, but customers have reportedly lost more than $870 million due to fraud. Now, so with the CFPB now shifting its approach, the future of consumer protection enforcement really remains unclear. So just make sure that that's on your radar. I would say that if you need to transfer money, that's something you should keep in mind, right? Maybe there's another way to keep yourself safe if, well, you don't have as many protections now from the CFPB. So something to think about, right? Now, in case you didn't know already, well, those who are wealthy to continue to benefit. Um, and that being said, the Trump administration has recently announced a way for people who are not in the United States to continue to come into the United States, but it's going to cost you. This is reported on CNBC by Robert Frank, talking about, well, one of the most expensive residency visas on the planet. President Trump has proposed what he calls a gold card residency visa, which would cost $5 million, which would make it among the highest price investment visas in the world. But what does this mean? It means that holders of this visa wouldn't have to pay taxes on their overseas income either, which is a benefit not currently available to American citizens or other US residents. But What does this mean is replaces the EB-5 visa, which is the program which requires a lower investment, but which has been plagued with fraud and other long processing times and whatnot. So this this basically means that if you are outside of the United States and you would like to eventually become a US citizen, well, if you bring your $5 million to the United States, that might be a way that you could do it. Now, while the Trump administration claims that the US could sell a million gold cards, experts are estimating only a few thousand high net worth individuals would actually apply, but the program could benefit companies, especially in tech, who are looking to hire top global talent without sort of those restrictive visa quotas. But yes, so that's the news on that. But let's continue because there's more news coming out of Trump administration. Trump administration has also accused Canada of unfair banking practices. It's so sad. I mean, I thought Canada and the United States were like the best of friends, neighborly countries and whatnot. But now we are hearing that that might not be so much the case. This is being reported by Reuters that President Trump alleges that there is banking inequality occurring and claim that US banks are not allowed to operate in Canada, while Canadian banks have a strong presence here in the United States. Now, the Canadian Banking Association, of course, says that's absolutely not true. They said as of February, 16 US banks currently operate in Canada and that they offer services such as corporate lending, mortgages, and investment banking currently. But that being said, American banks hold half of all foreign bank assets in Canada. And there continues to be financial tensions as US Canadian relations seem to be deteriorating by the minute, by the day, by the week. It doesn't seem like they like us too much. If you've seen those videos, you see they're actually taking our products off their shelves completely. And yet it wasn't that long ago. I thought we were best buds in terms of countries. So unfortunately, that's the situation there. Now, speaking of other changes, I want to share another bit of news. Speaking of best friends, right? Elon Musk, there's some news about him as well. This is being shared on Yahoo Finance, talking about no, not Tesla, and not Doge. We're talking about OpenAI. Elon recently lost a bid to block OpenAI's for-profit transition, but a judge here in California expedited the trial and that it will occur now fall of 2025, recognizing that all of us are interested in this case. But basically, Elon claims that OpenAI's shift to a for profit model violates his original $45 million donation to this nonprofit, which he says was contingent on it remaining a nonprofit. Now, of course, Sam Altman and Elon never, I guess at some point they were probably friends because they worked together, but now they absolutely it seems like they strongly dislike each other. OpenAI's co-founder Sam Altman and Microsoft reject Elon's claims, arguing that he really has no legal right to stop this transition to a for-profit company. In fact, Elon's lawsuit also seeks to prevent OpenAI from transferring key assets, including intellectual property, to whoever, be Microsoft or any other entities. Now, the judge currently has refused to dismiss Elon's claims outright. They states that a jury should decide whether his allegations are valid, and so this will happen later this year. So we'll definitely pay attention to that, and if as I see more, I'll report back. But yeah, Mr. Elon is very very busy with a lot of responsibilities as well. And speaking of other changes, now we talked about, we know that the Gulf of Mexico is now the Gulf of America, but did you know the Panama Canal ports looks like they might be changing hands as well? This is being reported by the New York Times. BlackRock now leads a $19 billion deal, which is a group looking to purchase two key Panama Canal ports and over 40 others from various different entities. Now, the BlackRock executives brief President Trump and other top officials who back this acquisition. Now, the Panama Canal does connect the Pacific and Atlantic, but ships actually don't need to stop at its ports in order to pass through. So this would be you know, probably one of the largest infrastructure deals for BlackRock, and the purchase will be managed through global infrastructure partners and other groups as well. So it continues. It continues. And speaking of things that continue, you probably know the egg prices have continued to continue higher. And if you didn't know already, they still haven't come down yet, but there is a plan. The Trump administration has a $1 billion plan to address the egg crisis. And yes, it is now officially an egg crisis. This is being reported by Fox Business, talking about we knew that the bird flu has worsened the U.S. egg crisis. Over 26 million birds have already been lost to the avian flu. That's a lot of chickens, and has definitely reduced the egg supply here in the United States. In fact, in January, we saw a 15+% price hike, and forecasts are predicting a 40% increase this year due to ongoing egg supply shortages. Now, the Trump administration, though, has a $1 billion plan. So the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, has announced a five-pronged strategy to combat the egg issue. And I'm curious to see how you feel about that. So definitely put in comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about the bird flu and eggs, because he plans to spend about $500 million for biosecurity to protect egg farms from wild birds spreading the virus. But from what I understand, it's airborne. So I'm not sure. I guess maybe, you know, I guess there's a lot of open shopping malls in certain cities. Maybe that's an option, right? Keep the birds in there. I don't know. I'm joking, of course. $400 million in financial aid for affected farmers to be able to rebuild these flocks. That's big. And also $100 million for vaccine research to reduce reliance on calling birds as well. So there's other things that they're suggesting as well, but basically, we've seen their impact on the price of eggs in grocery stores and restaurants. Costs have definitely gone up. In fact, farmers are warning that fixing the crisis is going to take a long time. But then this is something that hopefully in long term it will help stabilize the price of eggs and that chickens and all that for you at the kitchen table and pancakes and everything else. And with that, let's take a look at how the market closed. The Dow closed down 427 points. NASDAQ closed down 483 points. And the S&P 500 also closed down 104 points as well. So negative across the board. But thank you so much for being here and being a part of today's Level Up Live. It is always a treat to spend some time with you. And of course, we come here every single week. So don't worry. We're going to continue to update you in all things business, and of course, giving an idea of how you can plan your own life and navigate these ups and downs. And we've been doing this for many, many years. So we'll continue to give you that impact and most importantly, if you stay close, we'll let you know and hopefully give you a little insight on how you can help manage your own personal budget and to get through this year as well. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest insights and to watch past full episodes of Love Up with Winnie Sun. You can check out Amazon Fire, Samsung, LG, Roku, and of course, old episodes on NASDAQ. And when sharing an episode online, thank you so much for tagging at Winnie Sun. I see them and I so appreciate them. And with that, I hope that you have a beautiful week and I'll see you again very, very soon. Take care now. Bye.